Hello Simmers, and thank you so much for joining me on my very first speed build video of 2021. I want to take this opportunity to wish you all a happy and prosperous new year and hope that you are all staying safe and well in this current crazy environment. The UK is back under lockdown, so as a result we've had quite a bit of time on our hands in order to make some more videos and also some new content for my Instagram page. So do stick around and hit like and subscribe if you do like what you're seeing so that you can never miss a post. And also stick around for the video as it does help my channel and I really do appreciate your support as a fledgling YouTuber. Jumping into this particular build, what I wanted to achieve was basically a small Japanese family home set in the Mount Komorebi neighborhood that showcased all of the beautiful items that we had in the Snowy Escape pack. The lot I used here was the 2-for-1 Wakabamori lot, which when you first go into Mount Komorebi is the only empty lot that you can start with. As far as I'm aware, I think it's a 20 by 30 lot, so it is quite a small lot, but ideal for a starter home. What I also decided to do with this particular house was, because I wanted to maximize the space for the actual house on the lot itself, I normally do like a little landscaped garden, but in this particular case I wanted to play around with the new platforms and the new tools, so the garden space that I had left was quite minimal. But I thought, in a way, because of the lot that it's actually on, because of the beautiful rockeries and all of the sweeping driveways and the nearby forest, the way that it is actually on the lot, it actually looks like it has a little landscape garden, so a little bit of a cheat there as well. So I managed to get away with quite a minimal garden lot on this particular build. Now, I had a great deal of fun playing with the platform tools, the new platform tools that came with the free update just before we got this pack. It took my head a little bit of time to get actually to around it because it tended to delete the walls first. And then I realized, oh, okay, so it's almost like building a wall and then you kind of build on top of it. So it did take me a little bit of getting my head around it. And I didn't have a particular idea of what I wanted this house to end up like. I did a bit of research for traditional Japanese homes, modern Japanese homes on Pinterest, which is one of my go-to places for any kind of sort of architectural and interior design for my Sims. I mean, I love it generally anyway. I mean, you should see the list of my recipes on there. Had an amazing cheesecake that I made over Christmas. Absolutely fantastic. But Pinterest really does allow my creative juices to flow because you can create like a little mood board. So I had a rough idea of the Japanese inspired architecture, what it should look like, what it should have, what it shouldn't have, roughly the flow of a house. But ultimately this particular build, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to build a bunch of walls, roofs, chuck some windows on and just see what happens. And I'm actually really pleased with how it turned out. I had a great deal of fun as well playing with the Japanese roofs. So normally when I'm doing a build, I do tend to be pretty basic with my roofs. I don't tend to create anything too drastic. I tend to stick to the basic roofs. So this was actually the first time I've actually used the tilt on the roofs and the slopes to create those Japanese sort of pagoda type roofs, and I really had a lot of fun with it. And it was a lot harder than it looked because a lot of them, they had to make sure that they looked like they were one rather than like I just stuck a bunch of roofs, which is kind of what I did, but I didn't want it to look like I've just stuck a bunch of roofs in the way. So that was fun because normally I don't use a lot of mods. Well, I don't use any mods. I do tend to play a vanilla game, just, you know, my particular preference, but nothing against them at all. It's just the way that I've always played. And as a result, I sometimes don't necessarily think that I am able to see the game for all of its actual advantages. I do tend to sort of play quite vanilla. So this was sort of structurally and from an architectural point of view something that was a little bit out of my comfort blanket, and I really had a huge amount of fun with it. The one thing that I tended to love as well with these Japanese themed architectural pieces was I loved the natural tones like the cherry woods, the black lacquers. I really had a lot of fun mixing that all together. And as you can see, I've put the house on stilts because I wanted to look, like it was. A lot of the houses in Japan are on stilts because I think it's got something to do with the structure for earthquakes and stability. So I wanted to kind of stick to that aesthetic as well from some of the programs and images that I've seen. I also love the new roof tiles as well that came with the Japanese pack. I think that it really does finish off these roofs really well. And they had this really gorgeous jade green tile that really goes well with the cherry woods. And I thought that it looked amazing, once I'd sort of finished that as well. I also love I had a lot of fun creating the different sort of patterns with the tatami mats, as you'll see inside in a minute. But I also wanted to make sure that the house was free flowing and that it didn't seem cluttered, and that it almost seemed one with nature and one with the surrounding lot and forest area that it's in. I didn't want it to seem like it was too high maintenance to the area that it was in. Because normally one of the things that I love to do with a particular lot is I love to add a bit of clutter and things to make it look lived in. But with Japanese interior design and even with their architecture, it is quite minimalist. So to create sort of an open plan and sort of a good sort of flowing space. So I did, for me as well, that was quite different because normally I add tons of clutter around the place. Pictures, little items on the desk, on the floors, pot plants and various things. So for me, that was also quite fun to play with, and my hand on my mouse was itching because I was like, I need to add some more. I need to add a pencil box in the corner or something like that, or a toy box for the child, or I don't know, a pot plant or a pile of clothes, pile of laundry. But I thought, you know what? No, let's step away from that and let's create something that is just a clean, neat, minimalist kind of area, a good, nice, fun family space. Now, this particular house is quite basic in that it is a starter home, but it is quite, I suppose, more expensive than some of the starter homes. So it comes in at just under, I think it was 45,000 simoleons. So in the normal starter homes, I think are under about 20, but this was using mainly the items from the Snowy Escape pack. So, they are relatively high-end items with the cookers and things like that. So they're not the basic stoves and fridges. So I think that also does contribute to the overall price. So maybe when your family has got sort of mid-level in their career and they've saved up a bit of moolah, then they can buy this house in the upmarket area of Mount Komorebi. It has a entryway and a kitchen, almost like a skill building room. There's going to be a chessboard in there and a few other little items just so they can build some skills. There's going to be the main living area where they're going to have their family time, watch telly, have the fireplace and so on. And then there is upstairs, there is going to be a kid's bedroom, a parent's room and a bathroom. So as you can see, quite a minimal space that we are working with, and quite small by the standards of some of the lots that I have built as well. But I actually find as well that I think it's quite a nice space to live in. It's not too big that you feel like, because I've built some mansions and your sim wants to go to the other end of the house, and then when you're walking from one end of the house to the other, and it can take like half an hour in Sims time. So at least with this house, if they had a Hoover, you could Hoover it probably within about 15 minutes. And I always think that's a good judge of how big the house is. Now, I also think that, it could be quite fun with how you could play with this house. Either a little sort of new family starting out, they've sort of got a single kid, or perhaps a newly divorced single parent family where she moves in and he or she is looking after their kid. So could be quite fun. There is a mix of modern as well as traditional with this house, which kind of keeps it fresh, I think. The one thing else I love about this house as well is that, as I mentioned earlier, it is free flowing. So there's the rooms do sort of flow into one another, and there's a very calming sense with this house. It feels very homely but very functional at the same time. Now, in my usual fashion when I'm building a house, this particular room here that I'm sort of decorating at the moment, it started off and I was like, okay, I'm going to make a bathroom here. And then I thought, no, I don't know. Why does a house this size need two bathrooms? So I started off with the tiles, and then I sort of came away a little bit and thought about it. Because I usually, when I'm kind of building freestyle, as it were, I'll just start, cordoning off rooms, and then I start to think, okay, what am I actually going to put in this room? What am I going to do with this particular space? So you can see in a minute, I'm a bit like, well, okay, no, that doesn't really work as a bathroom. And I kind of think on the fly, and I'm like, okay, I'll come back to that room. I think the bathroom would be better suited up here. So I also do, one of my favorite times to build as well is in either the spring or the summertime, purely because you don't have to deal with too much. If you like building in the winter, it can be quite tricky because there's all the snow on the ground, and of course you can't see where you're putting things. When you lay the roofs, and the snow automatically sits on the roof, and it doesn't always allow you to see things very easily. So I do like to sort of build. What I tend to do is, either bulldoze a lot or go into a fresh lot, and then it's beautiful bright blue skies all day long, and it's summertime / springtime, and you can then see and move through the area unhindered. And then of course when the seasons do come, eventually it'll work quite well, but I think building in sometimes in some of the seasonal weather can be a bit of a pain, because the seasonal effects will attach themselves to whatever you tend to lay down on the ground, so sometimes that can be a bit of a pain. One of the things as well that I'd also loved about this new pack is I loved the sort of fun functional bathroom. So I loved the wooden bath with the waterfall tap, but I also loved the little remote style toilet like they have in Japan. So I've seen from travel videos that these toilets, they have a whole range of functions. So they have like a bidet, and then they have, I don't know, very sort of different strengths of shooting the water up to clean yourself and so on. And I think that's quite takes me back to my one of my other videos that I did for this pack initially. I think it was the creator some items where we were looking at the toilet, and it reminded me of, I don't know if you've seen Demolition Man, and they had the 3 seashells and nobody actually knew what any of the buttons did. So I kind of feel like it might be like a 3 seashells toilet where you just start pushing random buttons and hope for the best, and hope one of them isn't some kind of self-destruct nuclear meltdown. Now with this bathroom as well, I thought it's quite a fun area. So you've got almost like the wet room type bathroom. You've got the shower stall where it's just over the actual floor itself, I've tiled the entire area. And in the bathrooms as well, I've tried, in the kitchen as well, I've tried to stick with sort of plain slate tiles that goes with the grey tones, but also little bits of brown in them to kind of match with the granite and the cherry wood in the kitchen, because I thought that would once again lead to flowing into one another. This house, by the way, guys, is actually available on the Sims 4 gallery. I can't remember if I actually mentioned it at the beginning of the video, but my gamer ID Pamdemoniem, you can find this lot and many other lots that I've actually built throughout the last couple of years, families that I've uploaded as well, like the Kobayashi family, which is a family that I'm playing with at the moment, and I've got a great storyline coming along with them on my Instagram page, so do follow that to hear about keeping up with the Kobayashis. Now, a lot of the items with this particular pack as well aren't functional in that, for example, this tea cupboard here is just a tea cupboard, and it functions very similar to a shelf. But once again, it looks the part, and it looks very cool, and it doesn't clutter up the space too much. With this area, I actually did sort of have this little moment where I really wanted to use the dining room table, but then I also wanted to use the kotatsu table, and I was like, well, realistically, they're probably not going to have both. They're going to have one or the other. So I was a bit like, oh, I'm going to have to just go with the kotatsu table, because that at least is a little bit different. And I had quite a lot of fun as well playing with the kotatsu table, because it's really cute, and I love the hot pot as well. The Kobayashis do eat a lot of hot pot, pretty much 2-3 nights a week, and probably more like 5 nights a week, and it's a quick, easy meal, and it doesn't require anything other than sort of a basic cooking skill, which is great. I also loved this these open fireplaces as well. I love the little pile of logs on the side, and this chair with a faux fur throw over it, and I really love the way that that all sort of flowed together. I thought it was really, really beautiful. I decided to make like a little study area just off the lounge, because once again I was playing with the platforms, and I ended up with this little lip area here, and I was like, okay, what is going to fit in that space? So I thought, fine, let me do a little area where I can put a desk and a computer with a bookshelf, and we'll maybe chuck on a fish tank or something like that, a little fish bowl, just to kind of, give it a bit of nature, but also a functional area, because the main thing with this house is I wanted it to be functional. And yes, pretty and aesthetically pleasing, but at the same time, mainly functional. The family that lives here is going to, be sort of in and out, need the house to do what it's going to do, not necessarily be anything overly fancy. I'm also going to place a little pile of shoes there, because we're going to have, when we play with this house, it's going to be, with the no shoes rule around the house as well, which I think is also quite a nice touch. So you put the little shoes on the side so that they can put them away when they do that. You see, here I go again, adding my clutter. It's like, this was the one area I think that I did add a bit of clutter on the bookshelf. I'm like, I have to have a little bit of, to say people live in this house, photo frames or some kind of statue or something, a pot plant perhaps. I do love that little bush, that's that little pink cherry bush there. It's so cute. Bonsai tree, that's what I was looking for. I was like, that tiny baby tree, and I can't think of the name of it. But yes, the tiny little bonsai tree with the pink flowers. As you can tell, I'm totally at one with my gardening skill. The pink, small, tiny baby bush tree on the bookshelf, that works for me. And I really would love to know what you guys think of this build. So if you don't mind popping some comments in the section below, because I've done a couple of these videos now, and I'm really interested to see what people think of them and what ideas you might have for other videos coming up. So I really would like your input, anything else that you might like to see, other videos you might like to see me do, builds, any particular builds, or I will be working on some gameplay videos coming up as well. But there are some sort of system items that I need to invest in before we can fully go onto Twitch and things like that. I'm sort of this whole gaming persona is a work in progress, and once again I do appreciate your support. So if you are still watching the video, thank you very much. I do appreciate it, because watching the video all the way through counts so much on YouTube. So if you are still with me, thank you so much. So this area, as I was mentioning, I came right back to this room because it originally was going to be a bathroom, and then I was like, I don't know, it doesn't really work as a bathroom. So then I thought, okay, well, logic is a pretty basic skill that we need to invest in. So I'm going to stick a chessboard in here, a bonsai tree to, just, I don't know, because why not? And these little heaters, I quite like these little heaters. I mean, I don't really know what the function is. I mean, yes, obviously I know it's to heat things, but if you've got the seasons pack, you can have the house with a thermostat. So I suppose that the heaters, if you do have that for the pack, that the heaters are somewhat superfluous. But I suppose if you don't have the seasons pack, yes, absolutely, they are functional. But they are cute anyway, and they look quite cute in the corner, so I thought, fine. Now, from my experience, I think these are the kind of heaters you can't leave unattended, because they tend to flambe things, and especially in a house made of wood and paper, perhaps not ideal. So one of the things you might want to work on if you do move in is building up your handiness skill so that you can fireproof the heater, because otherwise it's just going to be a catastrophe. And I don't know if your insurance is going to cover it all, because they're going to be like, well, you know what the heaters are like. So in this little study area as well, I wanted it to, once again, be quite functional, just with a little laptop. When you're coming home from work and you need to work on reports or, school projects or so on, You can just sit in this little area. You've got the great scenery of the garden and the surrounding forests. So you're sort of at one with nature while you're working and studying there. I then sort of came up to the upstairs, and then I was kind of thinking, okay, I've got this space and it's kind of tiny. How am I going to now make, because I knew I wanted a kid's room and a parent's room, and I got to this stage thinking, because once again, I don't really work with a floor plan. I do like an outline and then just randomly stick walls around and see what happens. So I kind of thought, okay, well, now I'm kind of making these rooms a bit of a tight squeeze, but it's fine. It'll work with that. And one of the I had to take that window out as well, because one of the things I like is a pet peeve is, when you put furniture across windows, I'm like, oh no, I can't stand that. It's just, why would you do that? So in this case, yes, sometimes I'm like, oh no, I'll have to get rid of that window. And then I was kind of thinking, okay, now I need to kind of put the kids' room in, but now I haven't left myself a huge amount of room. Should I move the roof? But then the roof took me such a long time to do. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm gonna have to try and make this kid's room work with minimal toys. Maybe the parents are poor after they've bought this house, so they can't afford toys. So there's no room for toys. The kid's gonna have like a little hard knock life. Sorry about it, but they're gonna have the toys outside or something, because there is definitely no room in this room for toys. I wanted to get the little sort of Yama-chan bedspread in, because I thought that was really, really cute. And I was really happy with how the bathroom turned out as well. And now I was trying to think, okay, well, can I fit the door right against the bed and hope that they can still get into the bed? So I think this is really one of the tiniest bedrooms. I suppose like what we would call a box room. But, it's fine. It's functional. But one functional educational toy in, definitely no room for a dollhouse, because the dollhouse would literally fill the entire room. Because they're pretty huge, aren't they? I always think, like, I always love the idea of the dollhouses, and then you actually do put it in a kid's room, and you're like, God, it actually takes up more room than the bed. If only they could sleep on the doll's house, at least that would save space. But, so this kid has got a small functional room, so it's okay, it kind of works. And once again, working with I used a lot of the tiles and the tatami flooring throughout this house. Wasn't overly adventurous with the flooring, because I wanted to be true to the nature of the house. I don't want to use any sort of weird, I don't know, Baroque carpet or something like that, Baroque themed carpet, because I thought, yeah, that's not really going to work otherwise. I suppose it could be an eclectic take on it, but I don't know. I just thought it probably wouldn't work terribly well. With the kids' room as well, I always do have a lot of fun. I mean, I don't know, what is your guys' go-to thing for a kid's room? I tend to try and make it, mine always tends to be quite bright and colourful, unless I'm doing a teenage boy's room. Then I do tend to be a bit sort of like, just make it like a grunge skateboarding kind of rocker dude / chick kind of room. Here we're just going to place a few little of the ornamental bamboo trees to give it a little bit of a garden feel, because don't forget it is surrounded by some of the set dressing, which makes it look already landscaped, which is perfect. These just came with a base pack and they fit really well with this aesthetic. I really enjoyed making this video for you guys. Thank you so much. Do please let me know that you like it and follow me for more videos. In the comments below, please do let me know if there's any other speed builds that you want to see. And let's take a look at the finished product.